You know, usually when we pull the data for these deep dives, there's a pretty consistent story. You look at a classic album, the data looks classic. High scores all around.
Right. Consensus is usually pretty easy to spot. We like to think we all, generally agree on what's good.
But today, we are looking at a set of numbers that honestly just shouldn't exist for the same album.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about a record from 2016 that was simultaneously dismissed as forgettable by some of the biggest tastemakers, and yet literally crowned Album of the Year by others.
It's a true statistical anomaly. Depending on which column of the spreadsheet you look at, this album is either a throwaway joke or an absolute masterpiece.
And the album at the center of this whole storm is BBF, hosted by DJ Escrow.
The Dig You studio album by the British group Babyfather.
I have to say, if that name Babyfather sounds a bit like a provocation or a joke, you're already halfway to understanding this record, aren't you?
Oh, definitely. You have to look at who's involved. The driving force here is Dean Blunt. And if you follow experimental music at all, Dean Blunt is basically the master of this lo-fi, almost troll-level performance art. He just loves blurring those lines.
And he's joined by this character, DJ Escrow, and a third member, Gassman D. The lineup itself is a bit of a mystery.
Character is the perfect word. The whole project is just wrapped in enigma.
So the mission for this deep dive isn't just to review an album. It's to figure out how a single piece of music can fracture the critical landscape so violently. Is it a masterpiece or a mess? And why can't anyone seem to agree?
Well, to answer that, we have to look at how it was released. With Dean Blunt, the context is usually just as important as the content itself.
Well, looking at the release data, the context basically screams prank. It dropped on April 1st, 2016.
April Fool's Day.
Exactly.
And it was released on Hyperdub. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Hyperdub is massive. That's the label founded by Code 9 as the home of Burial. It's known for, serious, dark, intellectual electronic music.
So you have this prestigious, super serious label, and then they drop this album on April Fool's Day. It feels like they were daring you not to take it seriously.
Or daring you to find the truth inside the joke.
Yeah.
You have to remember, in 2016, Dean Blunt was coming off projects like Hype Williams. He thrives on that tension. Is he making fun of us? Or is this the most sincere thing he's ever done?
And we should probably clarify, despite the debut tag, Babyfather was really active in 2016. They had other releases like Platinum Tears and 419. But this one, BBF, this was the big one.
This was the studio album statement, the main event.
The genre tags we have are experimental, hip-hop, and dub.
But if you go in expecting a standard hip-hop record, you're going to be so confused.
Oh, yeah. It sounds less like a polished album and more like a broken radio.
That's the DJ Escrow influence. The album is framed as a pirate radio broadcast. You have this host, Escrow, just shouting over tracks, cutting things off, ranting. It's aggressive.
Which totally explains the tracklist structure. I was looking at the metadata, and it's overwhelming. 23 tracks.
It looks like a lot on paper for sure.
But then you look closer, and the runtime is just under 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So the math implies a lot of these aren't really songs in the way we think of them.
They're shards. Little fragments.
I mean, look at this. You've got Escrow, then Escrow 2, then Escrow 3.
Uh-huh.
Escrow 2 is literally 25 seconds long. Escrow 3 is 29 seconds.
And Message is 50 seconds.
It's just incredibly aggressive pacing. Just when you think you're settling into a groove, the album just changes the channel on you.
It's anti-flow. A normal album wants to seduce you.
Right.
To keep you listening. This album is constantly interrupting itself.
It's like it's mimicking that experience of just scanning the radio dial or maybe the fragmented attention span of the internet age. It refuses to let you get comfortable.
It really does.
But, okay, amidst all that noise and interruption in these 20-second skits, there are some serious heavy hitters in the credits. I actually did a double take when I saw the production list.
You saw Arca.
I saw Arca. That is not a name you expect to see buried in the liner notes of what some people called a prank album.
No, Arca is electronic royalty. We're talking high-definition, avant-garde sound design.
Mm-hmm.
Arca's worked with Bjork, Kanye West, FKA Twigs.
So how does a producer known for that pristine, high-tech sound fit into this lo-fi pirate radio thing?
Paradoxically, Arca is on 3 tracks. There's Meditation, which was actually the lead single.
That one's a full song, right? It's up for 5 minutes.
It is. It's a centerpiece. It kind of grounds the album.
Yeah.
It shows that they can make a real song if they want to.
Okay.
But then, in true Babyfather fashion, look at the track beneath.
Mm-hmm.
It's also credited as featuring Arca.
I'm looking at it now. It's 39 seconds long.
That's the punchline. You get one of the world's most talented in-demand producers in the studio with you, and you use a 39-second snippet.
It's a flex.
It's absolutely a flex. It's saying, we don't need to give you the pop banger you want. We're giving you this atmosphere.
It completely subverts the whole idea of a feature.
There's also a feature from Mikachu on God Hour. Micah Levi, yes. Another genius from the British experimental scene. So, despite the whole April Fool's wrapper and the chaotic structure, the people involved here are incredibly highbrow. This isn't just a throwaway mixtape.
That tension is fascinating. You have these high art collaborators, a legendary label, but the album's structure is designed to alienate you.
It is.
You have these massive bookends. Stealth intro is 5 minutes, stealth outro is 3.5, and then this chaotic middle where songs barely last a minute.
It forces you to work. You can't just put this on in the background at a dinner party. It demands your attention, mostly by just annoying you until you pay attention.
Which brings us right to the reception, because clearly a lot of critics did not want to do the work.
That is one way to put it, yeah.
So let's look at the average view first. The aggregate data, Metacritic has it at a 72. I feel safe.
It's the gentleman's 7. In music journalism, a 72 usually means I respect that this is art and I don't want to look stupid, but I didn't actually enjoy it.
Any decent music has it even lower, 6.8. And when you dig into the reviews from the big publications, you just see a lot of shrugging. Pitchfork gave it a 6.0.
And in Pitchfork math, a 6.0 is basically purgatory. It's a do not touch.
Pop Matters, a 6. The Quietus, who usually live for this kind of weirdness, gave it a 6.
Even The Wire gave it a 7. And they covered literal noise music. So the consensus from the establishment was, interesting experiment, but too messy.
They likely saw the repetition, the 20-second tracks, the shouting DJ, and just saw it as undercooked.
Exactly. They treated it like a failed hip-hop album instead of a successful piece of conceptual art.
But here, this is where the data gets wild. Because if you just looked at those scores, the 6s and the 7s, you'd write the album off completely. But then you have this other group of critics who treated it like the Holy Grail.
The true believers.
Mixmag drops an 8 out of 10. Resident Advisor, which is like the Bible for electronic music, gives it a 4.1 out of 5. That is a serious endorsement.
It is. But the real shocker comes when you look at the year-end lists.
Right. Let's just set the stage. 2016 was a monster year for music. We're talking about history-making releases.
Massive. Absolutely massive.
You had Beyoncé with Lemonade. Frank Ocean finally dropped Blonde. David Bowie left us with Black Star.
Titans of industry. Culture-shifting albums.
And yet, when Tiny Mixtapes released their favorite 50 music releases of 2016, who was number 1?
It wasn't Beyonce, it was Babyfather.
Number 1, above Lemonade, above Black Star.
And they weren't the only ones. Resident Advisor also named it their number 1 album of 2016.
I just want to pause on that. How do you reconcile that? How does the same album get a 6.0 from Pitchfork and the number 1 spot from Resident Advisor?
It all comes down to what you value in art. If you value polish, song structure, emotional directness like Blonde or Lemonade, Babyfather is going to annoy you. It's antagonistic.
It is definitely not holding your hand.
But if you value conceptual rigor, if you value music that reflects the confusion and the noise of the time, then this album is a masterpiece. It captures a mood that those polished pop albums just couldn't touch.
So the critics who loved it saw the fragmentation not as a flaw, but as the entire point.
Precisely. They saw it as a portrait of a fractured society. The DJ Escrow character isn't just an annoyance. He's the voice of the underground that's usually ignored, shouting about the reality of the city.
It's also interesting that The Wire, who gave it that lukewarm 7 at first, ended up putting it at number 15 on their best releases of 2016 list.
It grew on them. And that's the sign of a challenging record. It confuses you at first. You might even dislike it. But it sticks in your brain. You find yourself thinking about those Escrow skits days later.
And Resident Advisor even doubled down, putting it on their top albums of the 2010s list. So this wasn't just a 2016 fluke for them. It had legs.
It aged well because the world got more chaotic, not less. That sense of disorientation the album creates feels even more relevant now than it did then.
It really makes you wonder about aggregate scores like Metacritic. We see that 72 and we think average, we think mediocre. But in this case, the 72 is actually an average of, I hate this and this is the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Which is arguably a much more interesting score than a universal 8, isn't it?
It suggests that polarization is a better indicator of interesting art than consensus is.
I would agree with that. Safe art gets 8s. Radical art gets 1s and 10s. If everyone agrees an album is pretty good, it probably didn't take any risks. Babyfather took every single risk.
So for the listener who hasn't heard this yet, if they decide to dive in, they shouldn't go in expecting songs.
No. go in expecting a broadcast,
Yeah.
a collage. Listen to the transitions, how the escrow tracks disrupt everything. And pay attention to those moments where the beauty breaks through, like on Meditation or Deep.
Deep is another one of those Arca tracks, right?
It is. It's 3 minutes, 11 seconds. It's dark, dubby, atmospheric. It's a glimpse of the pure musicality Dean Blunt is capable of when he stops pranking you for a moment.
It's a reminder that Dean Blunt, Escrow, and Gassman D are just playing a different game than the rest of the industry.
They aren't trying to win a Grammy. They're trying to mess with your head. They are trying to make you question what an album even is.
And clearly, for the folks at Resident Advisor and Tiny Mixtapes, it worked.
It certainly did.
It's funny, looking back at those middle-of-the-road reviews, the ones that gave it a 6 or 7, they often mention the potential being there but feeling unfulfilled.
Which is so ironic because the unfulfilled feeling is the aesthetic. It's supposed to feel incomplete, like you missed the end of the song because the signal cut out.
And that requires a real shift in how we listen. We are so used to completion. We want the hook, the verse, the chorus, the outro.
And Babyfather gives you the hook, then static, then a skit, then silence. It's frustrating, but it's also exhilarating if you just let go of your expectations.
Here's a thought to leave you with. We live in an era of algorithmic recommendation, right? Spotify and Apple Music, they want to feed you things you will like.
They want smooth sailing. They want you to just keep the playlist running.
Right. An album like BBF, which is prickly and difficult and just weird, is exactly the kind of thing an algorithm would bury. It breaks the pattern. It causes people to hit skip.
It's friction.
So does a 72 on Metacritic even matter if the people who connect with the work think it's the single best thing created that year? Maybe we should be seeking out the friction rather than letting the data smooth everything out for us.
I think that's the only way you find the really good stuff. The stuff that actually changes how you hear music.
Go give it a listen. Start with stealth intro and see if you can make it to stealth outro and decide which side of the divide you're on.
Just don't let DJ Escrow scare you off.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.